to believe that because he has represented one person who was accused of crimes against his country, that he would want to cast such aspersions on my officers in our country. If you look at the work we've done over the past year, you will see that the statement certainly is not true. We have decent police officers, and other law enforcement agencies have decent officers who give their best to the community. One bad apple does not spoil the entire bunch. No, Miss Rule. No, Miss Knowles. I know who tell you that. The saying is, one bad apple spoils the bunch, and that is what the saying is. Because you decide that you want to change it, Shanta knows doesn't work that way. One bad apple does spoil the bloody well bunch. However, Roll did not act alone. Neither is he simply accused of crimes. He pleaded guilty to his role in a sprawling corruption case that also involves several police officers and a high-ranking Bahamian politician. As investigations continue, he is the first of 13 defendants to be sentenced. Among those charged is Elvis Curtis, 51, a former Royal Bahamas Police Force chief superintendent who once headed the police station at Linden International Airport. The case has embarrassed Bahamas authorities and renewed scrutiny of the country's long-running struggle with drug trafficking. That's the only part I want to read. Okay. Listen, during the Manhattan hearing, Martin Roth told the court the entire system in the Bahamas is corrupt. The entire system in the Bahamas, the police, defense officials, government personnel, is corrupted. In court, Martin Roth also argued that Roca had joined the conspiracy late, attended only 2 meetings, and exercised what he described as uncharacteristic bad judgment. But this is what they trying to argue, and this is where Shanta Knowles was offended. Martin said the entire system, and he said police officers, defense officials, government personnel is corrupted. Yeah, now listen to what me and Monroe's part in this says, and this one was also in the Nassau Guardian. It says, Monroe, according to Monroe, U.S. lawyers' corruption claim about Bahamas offensive. So Wayne Monroe and Shanta Knowles, and I read both articles, and both of them talk about these apples for whatever reason. And it's interesting and baffling at the same time that they both talk about these apples. But obviously those two were in conversation, and so they come up with this BS to tell us when we know what's going on in this country, because we live here and have to deal with what Martin Roth is talking about almost on a daily basis. You understand what I'm saying to you? Because I can talk about it in a little bit, and I can probably get in trouble, but I don't give a what. But listen, it says Minister of National... This story was written in The Guardian by Rachel Scott. Says Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe said yesterday that recent comments from an American lawyer who claimed the Bahamas entire system is infected with drug money and corruptions are offensive and inaccurate. Monroe said the statement from Martin Roth, the attorney of Darren Roca, a former Royal Bahamas Defense Force officer who was sentenced to 4 years in an American prison, also after he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to import cocaine in the U.S., was simply a lawyer trying to get his client less time. I guess he was trying to get lesser time for his client.